We're live. Should be.
Okay. Hey everyone, welcome to today's Run It Once cash stream. I'm having to give the introduction because Alex is just finishing her sandwich in the background, so apologies for being a couple of minutes late. Today we're going to be focusing on facing aggression. So yeah, all of these hands should be hands where we're feeling in a tough spot. Alex, anything to add?
No, hi
Hey everyone,
everybody. I mean,
welcome
yes.
to today's
Hi
Run It Once
everyone.
cash stream. I'm having to give the introduction because Alex is just finishing
Whoa,
her
what's
sandwich
going
in the
on?
background,
Oops,
so
I'm sorry for this. Yeah, I was apparently watching the stream as well. So, yeah. Hi everyone. We are running trans coaches and mid stakes cash game players, and yeah, we are going to go. We're gonna go through some hands on facing aggression, and I wanted to add that during the stream and maybe a little bit after. If you purchase a Run It One subscription, either Elite or Essential, you can get another month on top for free. And also, if you like our approach to poker and the way we go through these hands and you want more of this, you can also join our Discord that Paul is going to link in the chat.
yeah, one last thing just before we jump into the hands. The real people of Vancouver said, "What kind of sandwich?" So let's give the people the answers they really want to know.
Okay, so it was a toasted sandwich with butter and telema cheese, which is a Romanian cheese, quite similar to feta. Quite good, quite a good sandwich. Can't let it go cold, you know.
Okay, let's do it. Let's jump into some hands then.
All right, so I think this should be no. This is gonna be the first hand, I think. Yeah, this is the first hand. So we play heads up. To be honest, I don't know much about heads up play. I haven't really played much heads up. Didn't really study it, but yeah, usually you can find a bad match dinner and ranges are much wider. This is my knowledge on them. So yeah, pre-flop. I guess it's fine. Anything to add on pre-flop on heads up principles? I don't know.
No, I think we're no experts in heads up, so let's just jump in and see if we can offer any insight to what's happening.
All right, so big blind goes for a check, and we decide to go for a half pot bet. Um, I mean, in my opinion, I think kind of any strategy is fine on this board, as long as you construct your range properly. Although I would tend to either go smaller and bet mergier or go bigger. I'm not saying this is a bad strategy. It's just a bit too in between, I would say. Although again, heads up, things might change a bit. I think you are incentivized to go for smaller bets in general and go a bit more mergier. So I think this is fine.
Yeah, seems good to me. Let's keep going. We
Okay,
face the check raise. Nice.
yeah, we face a check raise. Um, yeah, I think here if I'm not sure if they usually play heads up, but first of all, I don't think people check raise thin enough here. And then if we think of his strongest hands, we have quite nice blockers to stuff like eights if he doesn't three bet that 6-8, queen 8, and we also unblock all his natural draws, and it's quite a lot of them, right? So from 5-7, 7-4, 7-9, 9-10, Jack 10 flash draws. There's a lot of draws available, and I don't think he has enough value to sustain all those. So I would pure continue here. What's your thoughts on the flop?
Yeah, I think one thing to just keep in mind is when you're playing heads up, just how wide ranges are, like you said. I think this is actually a board where out of position would way over check raise with weak hands because in heads up, you're much more incentivized to find three bets, especially with hands like pocket eights and obviously pocket queens and maybe some queen six suited or some queen ace off type of stuff. So I think that this person could definitely be lacking in the value portion of their range. And then they're going to have an extremely wide amount of hands that can check raise, such as gut shots and open enders and things like this. So I have to think about the 7-4 suited type of hands, the 7-5. And again, that might be 7-5 offsuit sometimes. And as Alex said, then those 9-6s and, 9-10s and jack 10s and jack 9s, all of these are in offsuit combinations. So it could be a board that this person is getting way out of line on. So yeah, would always be continuing for sure.
We do call turns the deuce pretty much the weakest card in the deck, and villain continues now for 25 big blinds. Yeah, to me it's just the same thought process as on the flop, except for now I think this is even better because he's dropping a very strong range here, which I don't think he has, so he should do this with probably king queen plus. Maybe again heads up threshold might go a bit lower and you might do this with queen jack, I assume, but a lot of those would be 3 bets pre-flop, so and the stuff that won't be like 6-8, queen 8 we block quite well, so yeah, again we unblock all of his bluffs. I think I would continue calling here.
Yeah, again, if we looked at this in the solver, I'm not sure what the solver would say, but I would for sure just be continuing this very, very often, unless I had real strong reads that this guy was, really low on one saw flop or something. I just think this is particularly a board he can get very out of line on. So yeah, continuing to call on this turn for sure.
Yeah, but even in theory, I do agree with you that people are very likely to get out of line here. But I think even in theory, this is probably one of the best bluff catchers that we can have. Blocking strong value and unblocking all the draws. So
yeah, and you block also just having the 8 of hearts is really nice compared to having say king 8 of diamonds, just because you're blocking some of those pair plus flush draws which have a bunch of equity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. This is interesting. I'm not sure if you've got anything to say to begin with.
Well, I think it's just the same thought process, really, because I think this is a classic bluff catching spot where if we were to start counting combos, that's really nothing that got there, and all of those draws that we both mentioned from 4-7 to 7-5 and up to Jack 10, all of them miss, while it's not really anything in his range that improves on this run out. So again, we unblock all the bluffs, we block value. So I think I would call here if this guy is not some need. I think this is one of the best hands that we can call with. And also I think people have the tendency not to go thin enough for value here with hands like, I don't know, king queen. I guess is supposed to do like this sometimes. So if they don't, then I think they are gonna be a bit more weighted towards bluffs. So I would be quite happy to call here. We only need to be good 1/3 of the time. So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I've just got the same thoughts. I think, as we mentioned, there's so many offsuit hands that villain can check raise and end up triple barreling. And I think we just unblock all of the bluffs, and yeah, we don't have to be right that often. So I think I would personally always call here, and if he has a better hand, he has a better hand. Maybe we get some reads, but yeah.
Okay, let's see.
I would just like to add, neither of us are heads-up players though, so if there is a very good heads-up player that watches this, they may have better insight, but yeah, for me this is just a spot where we have good odds on the river with a bluff catcher.
Yeah, I assume if this would, I think I would always call this in 6 max if we were in a button versus big blind spot, so I would say heads up, it's even more of a call if anything.
Yeah, it's probably even better, I agree. Okay, let's see what we had. Nice. Well, we made the call. Yeah, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So there are so many bluff candidates on this run out, and so many offsuit combos as well that I think would probably have to overcall quite a bit.
Yeah, I would. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I would just say I would make a note of this because we have so many offsuit combination of hands that we can check raise. I think we would have to be quite careful in the big blind shoes here and maybe just choose hands that contain a heart, at least on the flop. I think this would be a mix at some frequency, but if he's doing this with every offsuit combination that doesn't even contain a heart, he's probably just doing this way too often. Like we said, with these 7-9s, these 7-5s, and maybe Jack 9s, Jack 10s, 9-10s as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think you can use these kind of combos to keep bluffing on thirds and rivers, because when you don't have a heart, that becomes better on later streets. But as you said, you need to be careful with frequencies. You can't really check raise all the open enders and gut shots here for sure.
Yeah, and this hand is the sort of hand that he wants us to have, right? Like he wants us to have, Jack nine, Jack nine, nine ten, nine seven, seven five. So I if I was in his shoes, I definitely would have slowed down uh, at some point, I think.
Yeah. Okay, should we check the next
Yeah,
hand?
yeah, let's do it.
Okay, open from under the gun. I suspect the guy is going to be a recreational, considering he has a broken stack. And we go to 10 big blinds. I think this is the lowest I would go, the smallest I would go. And he makes a call. Board is ace jack 8, and we decide to go for a check. What would be your strategy on this board?
I think I would. Again, I always just advise people to just play their hand against a recreational, and in this spot, I think my hand is worth a value bet, so I would just start off with a value bet. In this situation, he may have too many ace-x hands. Recreationals obviously don't stick to charts, and they will find calls here with probably too many hands. I think ace-queen is probably not always a call here. Probably not even close to often. So he's probably going to have way too many ace-queens. He's probably going to have maybe too many ace-10 offsuit type of hands. It is a bit of a shame that there's a jack on the board because I expect him to continue with ace-jack. But he's still going to have probably way too many hands like king queen off and hands that connect with the jack. So yeah, I would just nearly always just be going for value bet here.
Yeah, I agree with you against the rec, but I think even against regulars, it's really nice to go to see bet this board a bit more often, and I think this is strong enough, especially if you go a quarter or something like that. You'll see that a solver likes to raise as in position very, very often in these configurations, and I don't think we really see that in game, so that allows us to see bet very frequently and actually make the game much easier for us. I think even range betting here for a quarter would be fine. And yeah, against recreationals, I don't think this is the kind of board we want to start slow playing on, unless we have reads that he's a huge maniac that calls, very wide 3 bets and then starts bluffing a lot. Then obviously it would make sense to have this slow play here, but mostly I think I would just like betting myself.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we check though, and he goes for a 1/3 stab, which is, again, with recreationals, I think they are very often just going to be face up and bet jacks here or eights for 3/4, but maybe do this with queen jack or ace deuce or whatever. Because of that, I think check raising here would be an option, but yeah, it's not. It depends on the recreational. It's not mandatory. Definitely continuing. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I think I agree with you that they very often their bet size reps their hand strength, and in this situation, he does have a lot of hands that could potentially call versus check raise. So he's got 9/10s, queen nines, queen tens, king queens, king tens, all these 8x or jack x, ace x hands. So I would. These are the reasons I would nearly always just be betting flop, and then facing this size, I would very often be finding a check raise. As you said, the only reason I would just check call here is if I've got this guy labeled as a maniac and I think he's just going to triple off, 6-7 of spades for no reason,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We just check call. Turns a 7. We check, and he goes for a very small size again. And at this point, I think I would definitely check raise. He still has a lot of hands that can call. I think this is very rarely a hand that's better than ours. And again, as we both said, it's very often just going to be quite face up. So I think our hand is strong enough to check raise. If we get shoved on, it's a bit of a shitty spot, but I think most often we're just gonna get value.
I wouldn't even mind just check shoving here because I think a recreational is going to have way too many hands that are purplish draw. And I think they'll struggle to fold those. And then they're still going to have, some of those ace tens or ace queens, that are going to just be calling. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind just going for a check shove, given this the pot.
Yeah, I think check shoving would be decent. I don't think we have to check fold, check shove all the time. I think check raising to a smaller size is also fine. We can really fold after that, but yeah, I think check raising to any size would be the best decision here.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
We just check call, reverse it then, and now he goes half pot. Yeah, I don't really want to be in this situation, but considering we think he's a recreational, he's probably not going to bet a lot of 9x. And up to here, I mean, ace 10. Yeah, I don't know. I would kind of have a hard time folding this against the recreational, especially if I think he's right. But
yeah, I think the main point here is we both really don't want to fold given the size and how strong our hand is, and given how wide a recreational can be. The main takeaway I think we've got from this hand is that we wouldn't have played the flop the same, we wouldn't have played the turn the same. So we're never going to be in this situation with this hand strength, facing this bet on the river. And for those of you watching, the reason why we're breaking down some of these hands is a player in our Discord has been feeling like he's getting into some tough spots against players at his stakes, and he's facing a lot of aggression. But here, I don't think the mistake is that. I think the mistake here is that he's just not playing a strong value hand in the way that a strong value hand needs to be played on flops and turns. And so he's then getting himself into a tough river decision when he shouldn't really be here in the first place. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that. And very often, also in previous streams, we've showed how, mistakes, like you get in tough spots just because you made a mistake previously in the hand. And
Yeah.
Sometimes, again, a solver would say it's similar EV. Maybe that's what a solver would say here, with ace king on the flop. But in reality, when you're against a recreational, probably betting would be more profitable. And you also need to be aware of the board textures, because these ace Broadway X are not boards that are going to be over bluffed most often, even by more aggressive recreationals. So yeah, not exactly the board I would choose to slow play on.
Yeah, let's see the result then, and maybe jump into another hand. Oh, okay, so he folds. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd be finding a fold on the river, but again, I would never be in this situation to begin with.
Yeah, I think the river is quite close.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, should we jump into the next hand?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's try and jump through a few of these to see how he's generally playing.
So he calls.
You expected that to go check then, didn't you?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
He faces a 3/4. Again, I assume this guy is going to be a recreational, or maybe this guy is going to be a stationary recreational, and this guy's a reg. Yeah, going for a call. I don't know, anything to say about flop, Paul?
No, I think this is pretty fine to just be calling here. Wouldn't really do anything else.
Yeah, same.
Now on turn, what I'm thinking is that I really would like to know who villain 10 is, because if villain 10 is a recreational, then I think we just continue to click call. But if villain 10 is a reg, then I think this hand is very different now, because maybe he was targeting villain 9 on the button, who he sees as a recreational, and was just playing his hand strength. And now on this turn, I don't really like having the 9 of spades, because I want him to have maybe some 9-7 in his range or some 9-10 in his range. So yeah, I'm not completely sure here on this turn.
Yeah, I think even against the recreational, this is a bit worrying, because as we said in the previous hand, they very often play their hands face up, and he just dunks very, very close to pot here into two people, and then he continues again very close to pot into two people. So I think this ace-9 is actually going to be very, very close. I think he's probably going to be quite a bad recreational for us to call here, because some of them are just gonna see top pair and do this with ace-5 and ace-3 and whatnot, so, or 4-5 or all those combos. So then we probably have to keep calling. But against tighter players of rags, I would be quite concerned at this point, especially seeing the sizings. I wouldn't actually mind a fold here.
Yeah. Okay. See what happens on turn. We go for a call.
Yeah, I think I would fold at this point.
Yeah. I'm done with the hands. I don't really like turn. I'm just very close to just folding turn. Given the flop action and the turn action, and then yeah, on the river. I mean, name a bluff that doesn't contain a 9, and I think you'd be hard pressed. So like, yeah, I really don't want. I really don't want a 9 if I'm in a bluff catching mode. So I just click fold. I think you'd do the same. So
Yeah.
let's have a look. Okay, well he finds fold. That's fine. I think turn is close, and maybe hopefully he feels like it's close in game, but at least he made a really good fold on river.
I think I would take into account maybe the timing here in game. I think if someone does this, like Snap does this on the flop and Snap does this on the turn, and I didn't really see him, even if I don't have stats, if I've been playing for a while at the table and I didn't really see him use sizes like this or do similar stuff, I think I would fold turn. Yeah, I would actually be looking for a reason to fold turn in a way. If I expect him to continue very often on the river, and it's often the case when you see this sizing scheme.
I think this is a lot of people always ask things like, oh, how do I improve my red line? And this is almost one of those spots, where like on the turn you can just fold earlier in the hand and you improve your red line. But players think I've got top pair, decent kicker, I call, without taking into account, a lot of his bluffs are going to contain a 9. So in that situation, you'd probably just be better off calling something like, ace 3 or ace 10 rather than ace 9.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's have a look at another one then.
Any questions in the chat? No, nothing, nada.
Nope, not at the moment.
Okay, so we face a limp, we check, which is fine. And we go for a donk on queen 7-7. I don't think I would do this. I mean, I think it would make sense against someone who's very, very passive and doesn't really bet and just goes to showdown with most of his limping range, but I don't think that's typical for most recreationals, so unless I have a read like that, I think I would prefer to let him bet and go for a check raise.
I think it's just going to be close either way. I don't think players really have much of an idea what they're doing in limped pots, and an imposition player might not just see this as paired and bet, and they might. So I think betting yourself here or just checking is fine.
Okay, he calls. Turns a deuce. Yeah, me personally, I wouldn't be donking here just because I think it's. I think overall it's going to be harder to get more money in the pot by donking, but I agree with you. It's definitely not going to be a huge difference. I'm just not super familiar with the strategy, so yeah, I'm not really sure what size I would use at this point, and what's the best way to get the most money in the pot. But how would you play?
The way that I would be thinking about this is realistically, what is this guy's range? And I think once we're in a limp pot and then on the turn where he's just called on the flop, he's just very often not going to have very many strong hands, right? So it's not as if we can go trying to get as much money in the pot as we can with our trips. I mean, that is the idea, but we also have to take into account what his range is. So in this spot, I think we're just trying to get as much money as we can against the queen or against pocket pairs. I think on the turn, a lot of recreationals will still call a bunch of ace highs as well. So here I'm just probably looking to go 3/4 and get as much value as I can versus pairs and queen X.
Okay, let's see what our hero does. Goes for an overbet, which I think it could make sense, although at this point they might start folding their under pairs, which might be some. I think they are gonna start folding ace highs, and as Paul says, in a limp pot, it's probably going to be a really big part of his range. That's gonna be maybe not under pairs, but a lot of ace highs, uh, king X and so on. So I think I would like something like 80%, three quarters, 60, 65. Don't think I would overbet here, but yeah.
Okay, let's see what happens.
And now on the river, yeah,
What does our hero do? Okay.
goes for half pot, which yeah, at this point we mostly expect to get called by a queen, right? And there's also not many missed draws here that we should check to let them bluff. I mean, it's very difficult to have anything that misses here because it's so disconnected. So I think I like the size. I would just go a bit smaller on the turn.
Yeah, I think I like river size as well. Just again, identifying that we're trying to get caught by, pocket pairs that are in his range or queen X. I think this is a really nice size on river. So we face some aggression, I assume. Yeah, at this point, I mean, I'm not folding trips against a recreational. I think you'll see recreationals with some bluffs here. You'll see them with king queen. You may see them with ace king. Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot to break down here, unless you do.
No, I agree. Again, we need to remember that I posted some stuff on YouTube and there was a lot of people saying, that's definitely a fold. It's obvious he has value, but like we need to understand that the pot odds we get here means that we're gonna lose in this pot more often than we win. Like actually way more often than we win, and it's still going to be profitable. Again, we're against the recreational. He can always show up with some trash, especially if he perceives as if he perceives that sizing down is tell of weakness. He might just start doing this with threes or ace deuce or who knows. So yeah, I would also call.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I think that's a bit of a mistake. And again, the reason it's a mistake is you are supposed to call and lose most of the time here. It's not as if you're not gonna you're gonna start winning more than you lose. But just given the pot odds, we should be calling, I think, and given the size.
Yeah, I just want to mention that there are recreationals that I would actually fold against if you play with stats on relevant samples or you have a lot of notes on them and they are very neaty and passive. I think there can be certain players that you could make an argument to fold against, but without reads, I would call.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, before we do this next hand, I would like to remind everyone that there is this offer that's available during the stream and a bit after the stream on Run It Once if you subscribe for Elite, or essentially you get a free month on the top of the month that you pay for. So quite a good offer, make sure you don't miss out on it.
Okay, let's jump into some more.
Okay, we face very small 3-bet here from the small blind. I think against a normal size 3-bet this will be a fold or maybe at a low frequency of 4-bet, but yeah, against this size I think we can start calling this. Then we should actually start calling this.
Yeah, I agree. I think when a player goes to 8.5 big blinds here, I would assume they're going to be a recreational as well. It's not as if we're extremely deep and he's trying to mitigates his out of position disadvantage. So yeah, in this spot, I think he's probably just going to be a recreational. Then we want to play in position with a hand that can make some strong hands against a recreational. We're going to realize our equity against those and be able to play really well.
Yeah, I agree. So we do call, and he goes for half pot on the flop. I think I would just call here. This kind of hand is, still has some equity. It has a gut shot, has a backdoor flush draw, no overcard. So it's really not the type of hand you want to raise with and get re-raised. Also on these check high boards, usually we don't really want to have many raises because small blind has way more offsuit jack X than we have. But considering the size here, maybe we could implement some raises. Because we will still have those offsuit jack X. But yeah, this hand I think I would just pure call. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I think I would predominantly just be calling in this spot.
Okay, our hero does find a call, turns an ace, and we face a 1/3. Um, I think this is actually how this spot should be played in theory. I'm not sure this guy is definitely going to be a recreational. But yeah, I don't think there's really much to say. I don't think I would find a lot of raises here. We definitely get yes to call, so I would just pure call here. Anything else
Yes.
to add on the turn?
No, I was just saying same.
Okay. And now when he checks, I think we are actually supposed to bluff this hand. It's a common pattern that we don't really want to bluff miss flash draws, but in these spots, I'm not sure that still applies. Especially here, we can just get better flash draws to fold, and also we are not really going to have a lot of worse hands to bluff with. Um, so yeah, I think I would most often bluff this hand. Maybe I would roll here and still bluff most often, but yeah. What do you think, Paul?
I think I would just piecing the whole hand together. I thought he would be a recreational given his pre-flop sizing, and then he chooses a fine sizing on the flop and then a fine sizing on the turn. But if he is a recreational, maybe he's just playing his hand strength, and on the turn he's unintentionally using a good size. But really his hand strength has just decreased, and here I think we can put a lot of pressure on a lot of his range, and yeah, I think queen high, I would probably just look to start bluffing here. I mean, there's some pros and cons to it, right? It's like we are blocking some auto folds that he's going to have, like queen 10 and king queen, which isn't great. And maybe some of those, 7 8 of hearts, it's not so great as well. But yeah, I think it's just a very close spot.
Mm, well, yeah, but pretty much everything is going to block some auto folds here because we're not gonna continue with stuff like sixes or stuff like that. So I think out of all those, this is going to be quite decent. Yeah, it does block some queen x. It also blocks some ace queen, which can play like this. Um, and as you say, it's just so many better hands that we could get to fold here, from kings to jack x, queen 10 even, without hearts, king queen. Yeah, I think I would always go for it.
Okay. Yeah, just checks. Yeah, I think this player might have just been a recreational.
Yeah, very likely. I
I
do
would I
agree
would
with you, but
if I was in this game now, I would definitely just be making a note of pre-flop sizing and then flop and turn sizing. I think if this guy is a recreational, then obviously Hero is going to know if he is or he isn't. Um, I think that turn sizing is just very important, right? Because if we're ever in this spot again and he goes for small sizing on turns or rivers, I think it's just going to be more indicative of the type of hand strength that he has, and I would be extremely aggressive against that small sizing.
yeah, I think that's a very good point. Notes are sometimes really underrated. They can give you quite a lot of edge if you take them and know how to interpret them.
Okay, let's see some more.
Um, yeah, I think you could go slightly bigger here to like 16, but this is fine. Not a huge deal. And we go all to a flop of king 10 3. Um, I think I would mostly check here three ways. You need to be much more careful when you play three ways. Although this board is still quite good for us, so I think on this particular board we could still do quite a lot of betting. Yeah, I don't think betting small like a quarter would be a huge mistake, but I would mostly check. What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think we just have to be respectful of being multi-way, so equities are going to be split. We're playing out of positions of two players. Yeah, I would not. I personally wouldn't be betting this board all too often. And then I would just extremely protect my check range, I think. Obviously, villain 16 is a recreational. We don't know anything about villain 18 at the moment, so yeah, I'm just going to check here and just look to play turns and rivers, hopefully.
Okay, goes check, check, check. And the turn is an 8, bringing another flush draw. Yeah, at this point I don't think we want to start betting super margin, especially on this board where, being out of position, the two players' equities are going to shift quite a lot by the river. It's also going, like, how often we're going to bet here also depends on our flop strategy. If we bet the flop very rarely, then obviously we're going to have a bit more hands that are going to want to go for value / protection here. But yeah, with two players left to act, even though they didn't bet the flop, they can still have quite a lot of king X, and queens don't really need much protection. So I think I would keep checking here.
Yeah, I think it's now. I actually think it's much closer just because of the villain 16 in the pot. If he's a recreational, he may just start betting, stronger portions of his range on the flop, and then villain 18 again may just start betting too often on the flop. In these multi-way spots, everyone should be very careful, but that's not what actually happens in reality. So once it does check round, I think I am a lot more confident in my hand here, and I think there is a bunch of there are a bunch of positives to just betting extremely small here. And the reason I think that is because if we went for like a quarter size bet, I still think most 10x would just have to be a fold. But with villain 16 in the pot, he's probably calling all of those. And then he's going to have just loads of, pair plus draws, or he's going to have, I think this board is quite connected, So I think villain 16 could definitely end up way over calling this turn. And I think it would also just be nice to get some of villain 18's hands to fold, even though there's not loads of them we need protection from. But even something like ace 5 of hearts, I think, is just nice to get that to fold. But yeah, I don't mind just continuing to check. I think that would probably be standard, but I also don't mind just going for like a quarter size here.
Yeah, I think again there are pros and cons. I would also think how passive they are, because I think there are, even if we check, we do accomplish sometimes getting value from their bluffs on either turn or river. And then we might get more money that way than by betting ourselves. And then when we bet, especially when we go small, there's always the possibility that we get raised with some combo draw or turn flash draw or whatnot. And I don't think that would be great for our hand. So yeah, I wouldn't mind betting small against certain types of players, but if they have any kind of aggression in them, I think I would still prefer going for a check.
Yeah, I think it comes down to like what you think of your opponents here, right? Like how much do you respect them? Because there's some guys here that, I could think of two players I play against, and I would just always bet this turn, and then there's other players I would just never bet this turn against, To me, it would always it would very often lie in who villain 18 is. I think if he's a very strong reg, I wouldn't be checking really ever, and if he's just a weaker reg or a fish, I think it leans more towards betting.
You said you wouldn't be checking almost never if he was a good reg?
If he's a good reg, I would be checking almost every time.
Yeah, you stumbled on words there. You said...
Did I? Okay, yeah. So just to clarify, if villain 18 is a very good reg, I'm always checking.
Yeah, I think it also depends on the recreational as well, because if he's just the kind of guy who's gonna have 7-9 offsuit here and just jam against a small bet because he doesn't know what else to do, and it's kind of bad to start betting queens, no?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, now, yeah, this now is...
Yeah, not great. I think I would just go for a fold. I think we are going to have the best hand here sometimes, but judging by the fact that we are sandwiched against two players on this board that is very volatile, it's very unlikely we're going to realize our equity, so I think we kind of have to fold here, even though it might seem a bit neaty.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is just a good fold. And again, taking our hand into account, we want the other players to have, ace queen or queen jack or queen 9 type of hands, when we're blocking all of those quite heavily. So, and like Alexandra said, on the river, a spade, a diamond, an ace, a jack. There's so many hands that cards that just lead us to the river, and we're in a really tough spot out of position against two players. So yeah, I'm just folding here. Okay, nice. Let's see what happened. Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's run through it.
So we open under the gun, call, and we go for a 3/4 bet here. I think in this spot we should actually check these overpairs at some frequency. And I'm not saying this is a mistake, but I think we should understand that they are not as strong anymore, and we also can't really range bet, so it's nice to protect our range with some of these, although aces and kings would probably be prioritized. Oh yeah, this is definitely fine. Thoughts on the flop, Paul?
No, I think this is fine.
And at this point, I think we should check very, very frequently. The flash is usually better for out of position, especially if we're gonna check back some flash draws as we should. The thing here is when these medium cards are on the board, it's a bit better for us because the Broadway flashes are, we can still have all the flashes with Broadways and ace-x, and some of his flashes are blocked by the board, but also we're not really going to have 7x while he's going to have it very frequently. Our overpairs are kind of devalorized here, so this is going to be a very frequent turn check spot. And I think queens here, I think it's going to be quite close, but in terms of frequency, we're definitely going to have to check queens here quite often. What's your thoughts, Paul?
Yeah, my thoughts are just the turn is probably one of the worst turns in the deck. We're not going to really be betting any of our 7x on the flop, whilst our opposition will call a bunch of them. And then the same, like Alexandra said, flush draws. We're going to be betting some, we're going to be checking some, but villain in the big blind will always be calling his flush draws. So this is a spot that if we looked in the solver, big blind should for sure have a very good donking frequency, I would imagine. And if we node locked him to never donk, which can sometimes be the case, or is often the case, I think we'd just have to be very, very passive here. So I would just always check here, I think, against someone that's never donking.
Yeah.
If I did bet, I think it's not going to be a disaster as long as we're, I think, going for like a smaller size bet. I think
exactly.
I would just start sizing down and really trying to target that 10x and pocket pairs 5x region, but mostly checking.
Yeah, I think if we do bet here, we have to go like 40% at max.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go larger than that.
Nice check.
And now we face a pot size bet. Yeah, I'm thinking if this hand is always a bluff catcher, I think we have to call just because villain 10, I think he could be doing this with worse hands, like jacks or ace 10 with a heart sometimes, and then he could have some bluffs on top of that. I don't love it, but with a heart and having queens here, I think we'd have to call.
Yeah, I think we would have to call this very often. We're blocking flushes, as you said. Villain can have jacks. He can have some ace 10 with the ace of hearts or something. It's not necessarily just a bluff catcher where villain doesn't have any worse value. So I would call.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. Well, that's really good.
Well, yeah. If we know we're against the recreational here, I think it's definitely way more of a snap call, or I think I would be way more incentivized to continue on the turn sometimes.
Turn I don't know, because recreational is going to start having too many offsuit 7x hands potentially, so I would still be careful on the turn. But then river is just, you put yourself into a fantastic line with queens against the recreational, right? Bet flop check turn, you potentially way over blush river, and well, as you can see, we way over blush river. So yeah, I think this is fine.
What was that call on the flop? Like he bet 3/4, our hero.
Yeah.
Okay, another heads up hand.
Maybe let's rush through this one because we're not very good at heads up.
Okay. Again, I think on these boards we should start having some really small raises, and if that's the case in 6 max, it's probably the case in heads up as well. But again, I'm not super sure. I think we'd have to continue this in some way against a small size all the time.
Yeah, I'm always continuing. I would be careful. This is why I said let's maybe skip through this one a little bit quicker, just because, yeah, I'm not sure how much head 6 max is going to apply to heads up spot here. Like, imposition doesn't really have a lot of connection to this board, given that he should be finding a bunch of 4 bets pre. Maybe not with this hand, but with the hands that connect to this board. So yeah, I'd be calling here, given I got third pair and a gut shot, backdoor flush draw.
Okay, now we have a double gut shot, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh wow. Yeah, no, that's not good.
yeah, I don't think that's a fold heads up.
That's never going to be a fold, having a double gut shot in any situation here. I don't think in position facing this size bet. I would always just be continuing here, and then we just get to play perfectly on the rivers being in position. So, yeah. What I would say here is, the person who submitted these hands, maybe he enjoys playing heads up, and if he does, that's great. If he's looking to have a better win rate in his games, I would just be very careful playing heads up, because heads up's strategy is going to be so different to 6 max, and if he's folding a hand like Queen 10 here, I think he's probably not going to be in a great spot against most opponents unless they're really bad recreationals. But then even so, some really bad recreationals are actually not too bad at heads up because they're extremely aggressive. So yeah, I would be careful in this spot.
Okay. Again, I'm not sure how heads up 3-betting ranges are going to look like, if they're going to be polar or a bit more linear. But I assume this is going to be a 3-bet from time to time, no?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know much. I don't know much about heads up, so yeah, I don't want to give people content they're not here to look at. So yeah, it goes for a bet, we go for a call, which I think is fine. On the turn, then I think heads up, we just have to continue this hand.
Yeah, I think so.
River, yeah. Again, this is okay. Well, I mean, the sizing is very grim. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't stay on this spot too long. I mean,
I think it's a good hand to check shove as a bluff if you want to have bluff.
I was literally thinking I just want to bluff this hand, but the guy has 43 big blinds behind. But then, if he's only ever doing this with, I don't know, yeah.
Yeah.
Tough spot.
I think it's either fold or shove. I wouldn't be calling. That's my point.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, we're not here to give strategy on heads up, because we're not very good at heads up.
Yeah. Exactly. Now a 6-max hand. That's 7-6, I think.
We're back to our comfort zone.
Yeah. I think you could use again from like 60% to 40%. That's like the size I would use here for this kind of texture. I guess you can implement different sizes, and this hand I think it's quite nice to bet at quite a high frequency, because it has 2 overcards to the 10, it has a backdoor straight draw, backdoor flash draw, and it also blocks the flash draws, and backdoor flash draws he can have himself, meaning it's more likely that he's gonna just have more hands that are going to fold. So yeah, I think for me this would be quite a high frequency bet for something like half pot. Yeah, how would you play here?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is high frequency for me. Another little can't think of the words, but another positive on the flop with betting this hand is that out of position is always going to be continuing with his Jack 9, Queen 9, Jack 8, Queen 8 type of hands as well. So you're not going to be removing so many of the hands that you get to dominate when you bet here. So I think that's a nice little side note as well, because if you bet here, turns a Jack or a Queen, you likely still have the best hand, and you can still get value from worse Jack X, Queen X.
Yeah, true. Good point. I don't see the size, but I think it's very small, judging by the pot odds. I think he wants one quarter.
Yeah, 1.5 shows on big blind.
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna be a huge mistake or anything, but I would this is not a board that we can range bet, so there's going to be a slight kind of polarization there. So, and we also need some protection with our hand. So I think I would slightly go bigger on these structures. Although people might make big mistakes against this size, I don't know. Yeah, on this turn, I think I would much prefer to bet. Yeah, because it doesn't really change much. 8-9 was a straight already, and yeah, that doesn't really improve anything in his range, while it does improve some of our bluffs. I think 10x here is still allowed to value bet, so I think Jack X is going to be a value bet very, very frequently, especially with such a good kicker. So yeah, I think, and he's going to have a lot of pair plus draws kind of hands and so on that are still going to call, so I don't really like this Jack. What do you think, Paul?
Oh, did we check? Did we? Yeah, I mean, this is the scenario I said, right? Is that like on turn, we get to just dominate some of his Jack 8, Jack 9 type of hands. So, yeah, I would be continuing here. I mean, I think I would just continue here often, and I would use quite a big sizing because I don't think I'm going to be able to get value on a lot of rivers, right? If the river's a club, a diamond, an 8 and 9, like a 3. I mean, it's just not the greatest situation, right? And we're not gonna be able to go for a lot of value. So on this turn, I would just use maybe close to a pot size bet, and then be in a situation where I know I'm probably not going to be able to always value bet rivers.
Yeah, I think I would go something like 3/4 here, just because I think it's the kind of run out where I want to go quite thin for value, considering how many draws there are available. So I want to be able to bet 10x, like most of my good 10x. Because, yeah, I don't think I'm going to get check raised here very often, and I think he's going to have to continue a lot of worse hands. So, yeah, I think this check back is quite a mistake, especially if you make this kind of plays often. You're just allowing him to realize a bunch of equity for free. Do you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say this and the ace king hand are quite similar in just that he's putting hands into check lines where he really shouldn't. So, you know, the theme of this is we're facing aggression, and in a couple of these spots, he just shouldn't really be facing aggression. You know, he should just be in a spot on the river where villain checks and he either checks behind or he continues to have a value bet. So,
yeah, I completely agree with you. And now he's facing a pot size bet here again. Well, we definitely need to call in this line, but we shouldn't really be here with this hand, you know. Has like 4-5 now get there, and flushes get there, but let's say we're not even getting protection from those hands, although 4-5 is, if we were to bet turn, that's quite a questionable continue. But let's say he does have a flush draw, you know, very often we're gonna bet turn, and on the river when he hits, if he's not donking, which a lot of people won't, we're just going to save ourselves some money by betting, like, let's say 3/4 on the turn, and then not having to call here, because he could also overbet, and that's even worse for us.
Yeah, I think I think this hand is just going to be I'm always just going to call this hand because players could potentially get way out of line here with too many 8x, 9x type of hands. I block flushes. I block some strong value hands. I'm going to call, but again, yeah, I think the mistake here was made on the turn.
Yeah, I agree. Well, yeah, he did have 8-9, but don't think we need to be super results oriented here.
No, I think in this spot we just lost the minimum amount of money we could lose, right? Because like villain should just be check raising. Well, actually no. If villain had check raise flop, we just have a fold, but it would be much closer on the turn if he check raised, right?
I think we can probably fold. We block quite a lot of bluffs with the queen of diamonds, and I think facing a turn check raising this spot is going to be quite underbluffed. Also, it's not like we're gonna have hands like, I don't know, 10x of diamonds, jack x of clubs, like with the flash draw that are going to continue. So I think this is not going to be super high up in our range. Maybe even jack 9, you know, that has a gut shot as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, facing a turn check raise, we probably fold, but that's fine.
Okay. See if we got one last one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, we check back. I think here it's. I think even although I don't want to go super deep into this because I didn't study much limping strategy, but usually you want to be quite polar with your ISOs. So you're gonna go with the bottom of your range and the top of your range, I assume. So this offsuit king X with the lower kickers. I think it's fine to put them into a raising range sometime, especially against recreationals.
I don't know if I completely agree. I agree against regulars. I would do that because they're going to have some sort of balanced limping strategy. But against the recreational, if I ISO to 5 big blinds here, he's probably just continuing way too often with king 8 off or king 9 off, and like that's just terrible for our hand. So I would probably not do that too often.
Well, yeah,
But
he's
then,
going to continue with those hands, but he's also going to continue with 7-4 and so on, and we're gonna play in position against a recreational. And even though we get dominated sometimes, I think all the other times where we can just outplay him or, get max value or so on, I think are going to, make up for the times that we're gonna be dominated with our top
yeah,
pair.
yeah, I do think you may be just correct there. We're going to play in position against recreational bigger pots, which is obviously going to be great. Me personally, I just go for more of a linear ISO here. So, you know, king 10 off, I just would prefer to ISO, but I don't think it's huge.
Yeah, against recreational, I just recreationals, especially if I know they are limping wide, I just pretty much ISO almost everything. To be fair, except for
Yeah,
hands that I really don't want to get limp raised with because I think it's easy to have edge post flop, especially with such wide ranges, and very often they just limp fold and you deny equity from a lot of hands. So
yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
it's nice to go wide here. But we don't know if we're against a rack or a rag. We just check back. King 8-8 again. I don't really find a lot of limps in my game, so I'm not exactly sure how theory works here. In a blind versus blind spot, we should raise here quite often and very mergy, so like click raise or something like that. I don't mind doing that sometimes with this hand because he'd have to call ace highs, queen highs, all the under pairs. Uh, and yeah, it's nice to have some has to raise and then check back turn value bet river. Bet calling is also fine. Definitely not folding. Do you have any preferences here?
No, I think you nailed that.
Okay, at this point I don't really see the point of raising. I think I would just continue by calling. Any thoughts here?
Mm. I mean, we can get a bunch of value from worse hands. If we raise, we can get value from draws. I mean, he could potentially have a lot of draws on this turn. So I don't mind raising, and I don't mind just calling. I think it's going to be pretty close. I think it's likely going to be if it might just be a recreational. Okay, if yeah, now things are just happening. I guess it's a recreational we're playing against.
Yeah, what did you want to say? If he's a recreational what?
I think against the recreational, a lot of the time, this small size is just going to be a lot of weak hands, or maybe some just some trash hands, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree it's close. I just think like especially when he limps, he's just gonna have so much trash here that I think I'd rather call and let him barrel his 7 deuce offsuit and whatnot. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think raising is also fine. No, I don't think we can ever fold. But
we just click call. Yeah, nothing much to say there.
um,
Yeah, I would maybe. Do I want to go bigger? I guess villain still has king 10 in his range, which is like a bit of a worry. But a lot of his raises on the turn are probably just going to come from 8x rather than king 10. So yeah, I think on river, I think this size is nice actually. Um, I think from pot to any size overbet is probably going to be quite nice because I think villain 10 is probably just recreational, probably has a lot of 8x in his range. We'll probably not fold it on the river versus any size. So I mean, within reason. And then we do face aggression, given the name of
Yeah.
the stream. Uh, I mean, we only lose to eights
King
and king
10.
10. I'm
Yeah, I think we have
just
to
gonna
call.
just gonna click call. I think, yeah, yeah,
All right, should we wrap it up?
yeah. Sounds good.
No questions, no interaction, no. We're just lonely and sad here by ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. No questions. That's gonna be everything for the stream today.
All right. Well, before we go, just wanted to remind everyone that you can join our Discord and maybe send us hands over there for the previous study sessions or the next study sessions or run it one streams, and also make sure not to miss out on the offer on Run It Once where you can get a free month of Essential or Elite if you buy a month. So 2 months for the price of one. If you use the code STREAM at checkout. Paul is going to link that in the chat.
Yeah. Okay then. And yeah, just a shout out to the person who supplied us with these hands as well. I think there was some nice folds and nice calls in this. I think he played a bunch of the hands quite well. Would just say maybe be careful in some of those heads up situations, right? Because that Queen 10 stands out for me as a hand you should never fold. And yeah, apart from that, I think quite a lot of the hands were pretty cool.
Yeah, and make sure not to overprotect your range in some spots you shouldn't. I think that's also quite an important point. A lot of hands should probably be pure bats or very close to pure bats, but also with other hands that you've sent us, and these ones, it seems like you might be putting them in checking lights a bit too often.
Okay.